Golden Thread Tarot. I realize that's backwards, but y'all just have to deal. Hello there, my friend. Hello. Welcome. Thanks for joining in today. So, life has life. This Mercury retrograded has retrograded my life. And this eclipse has eclipsed the bejesus out of me. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I am enjoying this heat as well. Give me 90 degrees plus with some moisture in the air any day. My skin loves it. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, first of all, hello, I'm Dana, the People's Oracle. Maybe you've wondered where I've been. Maybe you wonder why I have not gone live on Instagram. Maybe you're forgetting about Mutable Madness 2019. Maybe you're forgetting that I too am mutable. And so the madness has mucked up my life. But you know what? I'm just really not even gonna complain. There's breath in my lungs. There's a roof over my head for the time being. And yeah. This Mercury retrograde has been trash. This window between the eclipses, I'm not going to call it trash. I'm just going to say it's been relentless, and the pressure to act and be vigilant and pay attention is not lost on me. I just really feel like I'm this lone voice out here that has been talking about this particular moment that we're in right now for several months, and it has not disappointed. I mean, there's a blackout in New York right now. Like right now, the west side of Manhattan does not have power. Yeah, like this is Mercury retrograde as it gets. So, you know, whatever. Usually I set up my little room with my table and do a tarot reading for the new or full moon, but this past week has just really been one of the hardest weeks of the year, mostly because like this retrograde has been take what you learned, what transpired, what you became aware of at the spring retrograde, and now you have to act on it. And personally, that was a very hard thing to do. Still very hard. But at last, I'm here. I don't know what I'm going to put these cards on. I'll take my real book for all of my jazz heads and use it as my little table. This is like jazz standards. So up. Anyways, we're going to use this as my little table here. And I'm only pulling 3 cards because I don't have that much time. I mean, I don't have that much space. Hello, Love Seasoning 504, my Louisiana baby. Yeah, so, you know, I'm just going to pull a few cards because I recognize that my gifts are for liberation, and that while I'm going through, you two are going through, and I know the Spirit can use me to relay a message, a word, a directive, a perspective, a possibility, a meditation, and a mantra, a hymn, a living spiritual word for you in this moment. So I'm just going to let the Spirit use me in these cards to say what it has to say. Am I still coming to New Orleans? You better talk to the Lord about that, okay? Because personally, I did everything I was supposed to do, and so my coming to New Orleans is up to Goddess now, because I've done my part, and you know, yeah, that's all I can really say. I would love to, but you know, there's some things in the way and some circumstantial changes and shifts that have complicated that thing happening for me. Hey Celeste. So hi David. So, you know, I'm putting it in Goddess's hands. Winter! Let's pull some cards, people. Again, I'm not doing nothing long and drawn out because I don't have any space in this room. But I am going to do my usual you know, pulling a card, cutting the deck and the card on the bottom uh, being indicative of this moment, context for how we read the other cards, and just really a pivot point and tether for the message that is to come. I have my new, Dusk-to-Onyx tarot that I just got like 2 weeks ago, and I haven't worked with it that much, but I have developed just a little bit of a practice around it. So depending on how this goes, maybe I'll spend a couple minutes and pull one card from that deck. I'm gonna shuffle one more time, and then let's cut this deck and let's just see what it is. What it do, baby? Page of Wands. This was in our last reading. Let's talk about it. Pages consider and contemplate. They are gathering information or ideas. They are curious about their elements. So what does it mean to be curious about wands, to consider and contemplate wands? It looks like it's about to do something really stupid outside, and I just don't even know what to make of it. Anyways, but what does it look like for one to be curious about the will? There's a mutable energy to the Page of Wands. For me, the Page of Wands is the direct corollary, I think that's how you say that word, to the Two of Wands. In the Three of Wands, rather. Page of Wands and Three of Wands are a very nice pair to me. Both of these cards have to do with intention. And whereas the Three of Wands is about refining intention and that space you hold when you have taken an action imbued and embodied with intention, and you are in this moment of observing whether or not your intention has created the intended outcome, for lack of a better word. But the page is the step before that. The page is the step before that intention. The Page of Wands is a moment of mapping out possibilities. Oh, okay, Winter. I'm going to put it up on YouTube too, but it'll be here. The Page of Wands is this moment of mapping possibility. It is this moment of assessing the lay of the land. Now, when we're talking about wands, it's always action. It's always the will, volition. Volition is like the unction, the force that impels, the force that imbues consciousness, embodies intention, and impels action. And so the page is at this moment, it's like potential energy embodied. And hey, Keisha, and the Page of Wands is really telling us that at this full moon, this is our second full moon in Sagittarius, which, remember, Sagittarius with Saturn and Sagittarius, and this whole moment is all about how do you make your life in this world a living testimony of your intentions and convictions? How do you go from passive, responsive, reactive, complacent to generative, intentional, conviction filled? How do you move from that place to that place? The page is saying that this is a moment of assessing the lay of the land, of creating a map of possibilities, maybe even actually looking at a map, but seeing where it is that you want to go and plotting out possible paths. Woo, look at that alliteration. Plotting out possible paths forward. So let's see what we've got here. Two of Cups. I love this Two of Cups. Three of Swords. I know that's backwards. Y'all will forgive me. And the Will. I'll show those again. Two of Cups. This is the Golden Thread Tarot. Three of Swords. This imagery is really making my intuition tingle. And Wheel of Fortune. The interesting thing about the wheel to me has always been that the four animals on the corners of the wheel represent the four fixed signs. The angel is Aquarius, The eagle or phoenix is Scorpio. The lion obviously is Leo, and the bull obviously is Taurus. But this has like a demon on the bottom, and then it has the Sphinx or at the top. Anyways, 2 and 3, 2 of Cups and 3 of Swords. 2 of Cups is not necessarily a love card for me. It can be, but the 2 of Cups, like if it does come up within a context of a reading for a client, it's often about negotiating, reconciliation, but also matching someone's energy. There is a symmetry to this card. Wow, I'm just now noticing too the glyphs for Mars and Venus, or male and female, yin and yang. But the 2 of Cups is about reconciliation and negotiation, recognizing that there are 2 people or 2 entities or 2 ideas with disparate wills, disparate intentions, their needs are different. And the 2 of Cups represents this moment of reconciling those differences for the sake of togetherness. But also, it could just mean matching someone's energy. It can mean to be sensitive to and responsive to the level of emotional investment or that someone may be putting into a relationship and matching that. I know that is really contrary to a lot of the advice that we might receive around relationships, but it's really important to gauge the level of investment that your partners have, whether it's business or whether it is romantic. That being sensitive to that allows you to temper your expectation. The other piece too around the 2 of Cups, Cups is always water. Water is instinct. Instinct is a fact of being human and in a body. And instinct talks to us and teaches us about the ways that we are unconsciously kept alive, right? In this moment, I am not consciously doing anything to make my heart beat, my blood flow, my food digest, my eyes see. I mean, other than the fact that I've opened them, but I'm awake. I mean, I can lay down and close my eyes, but the fact of the matter is that instinct possesses us. The survival instinct possesses us to live. Our 6th sense, as it were, is the instinct to perceive beyond the physical. And there's the instinctual nature of the body's process. Thank you, a rainy day. So the 2 of Cups talks about my instinct and your instinct. And how do we reconcile the unconscious nature of each of our beings? We're all bringing something unconscious to our relational environments, whether they be business or romantic. And the unconscious things that we bring to our relational environment are most often driving us. When we talk about intention, there's conscious intention and unconscious intention. Conscious intention is what we believe about who we are, what we believe about what is possible, and what we believe about how the world works and what we're capable of. But unconscious tension is so important because our consciousness can override our survival instinct. And it's so important for our survival instinct to be so strong that it can overcome even the folly of us thinking we know everything. So I'm kind of envisioning this 2 of Cups representing a reconciliation and negotiation of our instinct and our will on an internal level, but also in our relational environments, that we are balancing and we are reconciling and negotiating with whose needs gets met and how, right? When 2 people come together, this entity and togetherness that is formed does not forsake individuality. You see here that there really is almost a third entity that emerges. So I'm going to leave that at that. We are talking about the full moon eclipse in Sagittarius that is Tuesday. We started off this reading by cutting the deck and seeing the Page of Wands here, which is mapping out a path forward, mapping out intention, questioning what are the actions that are the best translation and approximation of my intention. What are the choices I can make, the actions I can take, the movements and the path forwards that I can pursue that are the possible embodiments of my intention. We started with the Two of Cups here, which I just went deep on, so let's just put that down. We have the Three of Swords here. The Three of Swords, this is such a dramatic card. Look at that, it's raining, it's a storm, the swords are going through, and the eyeball is crying, and it's just so dramatic. But drama aside, the Three of Swords breaks through stalemate. The Three of Swords is decisiveness, it's a clarity. It is different than the Tower, right? The kind of clarity that the Tower brings disrupts the narratives that inform your belief, right? The Tower disrupts how you have interpreted something and totally says that, well, you were wrong on that, and this is the way that it really is, and it blows your mind, because when your narrative is disruptive, it changes how you view everything. But the Three of Swords is not that kind of clarity. The Three of Swords is the kind of clarity that comes when you get a piece of information that fills out the picture. The Three of Swords comes when circumstances necessitate that you make a decision. It's getting to the heart of the matter. It's moving beyond the surface of conversation. It's moving beyond the surface of how you think about things. It is breaking through indecisiveness. So the Two of Cups and Three of Swords together can mean a breakup, but I think that it is more indicative of clarity that comes when you have difficult conversations. Three of Swords is when you say you get to the heart of the matter, right? What is the heart? The heart is what they say sometimes the center of the soul, right? It's your soul. But the heart is the essence. It is the core, the fundamental, and the essential. So what kind of conversations are you having? What kind of information are you coming across that is making things clear for you, that is breaking through? I'm wondering that if you've been in a stalemate or a place of unsureness in your relationship where you're not sure if it's going to go forward, or maybe even with the Page of Swords, you're paving a path forward and mapping out the possible futures for your relationship or partnership. And this really represents a moment of speaking honestly and clearly. There's a little bit of the Queen of Swords and the Three of Swords for me, right? There's a little bit of the, I'm going to say what I have to say because it needs to be said. And so we're not going to mince any words here. I always steer clear or am very cognizant about using words like truth, because truth is often conflated to mean fact. But truth is not fact. Fact is measurable, objective, and quantifiable, right? This is round, right? This is, cylindrical. Those are things that can be measured and calculated. And granted, you just being contrary, everyone can see it. But truth is what I can perceive with my own eyes, understand with my own judgment, and verify with my own perception and intellect. So there is a truth that emerges from the Three of Swords that has to do with what you can see. Look at that little eyeball, right? What you can see and what you can verify with your own perception. Not what you were told, not what you believe, but what you can perceive. So the Two of Cups and Three of Swords together. How are you finding, hi Divine Child 999, how are you finding the words to break stalemates in your relational environments? How are you getting to the heart of the matter of how to meet your needs and the needs of others. You know, I cannot overlook this Two of Cups and something about it articulating Cancer for me. The Mercury retrograde in Cancer, Mars currently in Cancer, Jupiter is in Scorpio. We've got this whole water thing. The moon, excuse me, is in Scorpio today. So I can't overlook, you know, the Two of Cups as possibly articulating something about that. You know, Cancer speaks to us of our immediate needs for food, shelter, and safety. Shelter from the elements and danger outside, food to nourish, and safety. So if these are our basic needs, you know, the fundamental instinct that is driving us to be in a relationship, that was a revelation right there. So I'm just going to repeat that, because sometimes words just be flowing out of my mouth and spirit is talking. I'll be like, wow, that was really nice. We seek relation to get our needs met. And there is a complication that modern living has brought to relationships, because we cannot take for granted that we are meeting partners from the same cultural background, expectations of gender roles and things like that. It gets all deep, you know, around, you know, how we're coming together. But the fundamental function of relationship is to meet your need of food, safety, and shelter. I'm going to say that again. The fundamental function of relationship is to meet the basic human needs of food, safety, and shelter. Can you get right down to the nitty-gritty of it? So what conversations are you having in your relational environments around food, safety, and shelter? I think sometimes, especially at present, with climate disaster, you know, standing on our doorstep every moment, with fascism and authoritarianism on the rise, with the policing of women's bodies and minds and being at its most fervent in my lifetime, the fundamental point of relationship and community is to meet the need for food, safety, and shelter. Everything else is ancillary to that. It's an addendum. It's extra. And because we can create a false sense of relationship on a grand scale, we forget that that is the fundamental purpose of relationship. With rare exception, people on the internet cannot meet your need for food, safety, and shelter unless, of course, you're doing a GoFundMe, right? Which is a real thing, because I've used GoFundMe, you know, to keep my livelihood going. So I don't have no shame about saying that, and I don't shame or judge anybody that does that. But I am feeling so strongly in this moment to reiterate that pleasure even, thanks Reed, that pleasure even is ancillary. Pleasure is the, what's the word I want to say? Not temptation. It is the magnet that pulls us into relationship. I'm going to move on to this last card. We've got the Wheel of Fortune here. I mentioned before that in most Rider-Waite, Pamela Coleman Smith, who's the Black femme, who is responsible for the original renderings of the Rider-Waite Coleman Smith Tarot. They all have animals around this wheel. I'm about to get real deep. I hope y'all got y'all pens, because Spirit is talking. They represent the 4 fixed signs. This is Aquarius, because it's human. This is Taurus, this is Leo, and this is Scorpio. I've always interpreted the Wheel of Fortune of a season shift, a cyclical change that in some ways is predictable. But within the context of divination for liberation, I truly believe that there is a time and season for all things. So, what is it that we have to say about the fixed signs and the seasons that they represent? Let's talk about them for a second. Where shall we start? We shall start with Taurus. We'll start with Taurus because relationship is the beginning of everything. Don't you know that? You begin your life in relationship because of relationship. Your first body is someone else's. That's a relationship. And then you come into the world in relationship. So Taurus talks to us about thriving in relationship and community. Leo is the individual self and consciousness that emerges from relationship. I'm going to say that again. You didn't arrive here as an individual consciousness. Your individual consciousness emerged from the relational environment of your birth and upbringing. So Leo represents the perceptions and judgments of individual consciousness that emerge from a relational environment. Scorpio represents the autonomous, and I mean that in two different ways. Autonomous as self-generating, so like an autonomous vehicle, but autonomous as in self-law as well. So Scorpio talks to us about the autonomous nature of the survival instinct to preserve the individual conscious that emerge from relationship and community. This is instinct and physical. This is fire and will. This is earth and tangible. Finally, we get to Aquarius, which is air, and it is the detachment and dissociation from the instinct, from the individual consciousness, and from the relational environment. It's the human, you see, this is the only human on this card function that allows us to dissociate from our bodies. I am not my body. I am not this trauma. I am not what's happening to me. I'm not what you did to me, right? To dissociate from our perceptions. I understand that my perceptions can be manipulated and used against me, and that my perceptions are shaped by something that maybe I don't have control over, right? My perceptions are shaped by what I'm consciously aware of. But guess what? I'm not consciously aware of everything. So maybe there's some unconscious things that is shaping my perceptions and judgment. Aquarius is the faculty that even allows us to question our own perceptions and judgments. Did you know that animals don't question their perceptions and judgments? They act on instinct. So, this season shift, this season change, there's a time and season for all things. There's a shift, a moment, a cyclical change. You know, I was just talking with a friend of mine about the Bazi calendar, the Chinese astrology calendar, and a new month that starts in August that really we have no reference point for in the recent past. It brings an onslaught of water, the element water, which is Mercury, oddly enough. And I think that season shift is so important. So let's get through July. We gonna make it through. I'm gonna tell you, this past week was likely the toughest week of the year. We have one more that might be tough, but I really think that this past week was the toughest week of the year. And you are here. You may not be in your right mind, and that's okay. Most of us aren't. But you made it. So the cyclical shift that's on the horizon, we started really off about plotting a path forward. I'm really curious about the relationship between these two cards. The Wheel of Fortune is not something that you do. Well, I don't want to say it's passive. I want to say that seasons are something that you observe, and seasons are something that you can surrender to, or you can resist. You can resist winter and decide that you want to go dig up the ice and put a seed in the ground. But we all know that that's quite foolish. Same Nasty Nikki, same all the tears, right? So the wheel at the end of this, I almost want to say that the tension that's in the Two of Cups requires balance. And by balance, I don't mean, I mean that in almost a violent way. Because the tension of balance, like if you ever try to, um, uh, 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 if you ever do ballet, right, and you want to do like a passe or something like that, the anchor leg that you put on the ground, that's holding there, is really the leg that's doing the work, right? The leg that's doing the work. Because your muscles all the way down through your toes and up through your hip have to be engaged in order to hold that balance. Excuse me. That's the kind of tension that's in this Two of Cups card. It's not a passive tension, and it's not just two things pulling at each other. It's a deep engagement that requires focus. You train your muscles to hold the tension. And so there's a breaking of the tension with the Three of Swords, because there's clarity, there's getting to the heart of the matter, there's revealing and breaking through the stalemate. So when we get to the Wheel, the opportunity to resist or surrender to the season requires you to rightly divine what season you're in. Woo! Just let that marinate. The opportunity, I'm going to say that again for you. The opportunity to resist or surrender to the season you're in requires discernment to rightly divine what season you're in. See, a lot of times we have an expectation or a desire that shapes our interpretation of what's happening. And so we set our mouths. You know how you got the taste for something in your mouth, right? We set our mouths for a fulfillment based on that desire, when in fact it's quite possible we interpreted it wrong. So I want you to really hold this card in your mind. He really strikes me as an explorer who is tasked with mapping out a land, before people come to inhabit the land. So there is a little bit of an adventurer, there's a little bit of a risk taking, but there's also strategy here. So what new pathways are you forging for those that come behind you? Ooh, all right. Yeah, there is in this card here. Let's go back. Woo, it's coming together, because I'm hearing coming together this whole conversation about the foundation, the essence, the primary function of relationship is to secure food, safety, and shelter. I mean, if you think about so many of the cultures that have been colonized, food is this thing that brings them together. Generational living, intergenerational living in shelter, brings them together around food. So there's something here in this card around how you, we, us, they are mapping out the terrain in a way that is radical. The question that's coming to me is, how are you breaking free from, come down. How are you breaking free from the tradition and maybe even the unconscious ways that your forebears have secured food, safety, and shelter? I think that's an important question, because it's really one of the most primal unconscious instincts that drives us, that we unfortunately often just repeat what we've witnessed or what is in us. If food safety and shelter is the fundamental essence of relationship, how is that informing your relationships? This is bringing up for me like some kind of scripture around, you know, in the Bible, it talks a lot about people are not interested in your God when they're hungry. People are not interested in your philosophy. They're not really interested in your doctrine, and they could care less about their soul if they are hungry. And so the relational connection that comes is rooted in this fundamental food safety and shelter. So I'm wondering, it's like, no matter how deep something may be, this bottom layer still exists of food safety and shelter. What did you witness as a child? What sacrifices were made? What expectations are what expectations are informing your choice of partner and your relational environment that you may not be aware of, you just copying, right, what you've seen. There is I can't get past, like, there's something radical about this card. There's something risk taking and adventuring. I'm thinking of Jean-Baptiste Dusabo, I believe, who founded Chicago. He made the maps. He traveled up the Mississippi. So there's something so radical and risk taking about even making a map. It's saying that, you know what? I don't necessarily know what the best course of action is in this moment. I don't necessarily know which action is going to be the best embodiment of my intention. I may not even be clear on my intention, so let me map out the possibilities. Let me step back from the instinctual drive that has informed my choices that probably are taking me places that I had no intention of being. So let me step back and let me be conscious. Let me contemplate and consider the possibilities for where I can go. If I'm making my life a living testimony of my intentions and convictions, there must be intentionality on purpose. On purpose means that you are tuned in, tapped in, not with the what, not with the thing outside of you, but the thing you bring. So what are you bringing to where you're going and where you're trying to be? Yeah, I don't really think I have anything left to say. I think I will try, if I can find something else to put this thing up on, or maybe I should just move this back. How does that work? Yeah, maybe I should. I want to, at last, I'm not going to be able to be as deep with this. This is the Dusk-to-Onyx. So I'm just going to pull a couple cards here. I have not worked with this deck a lot, so, you know, don't judge me. I'm just going to look at the pictures and see what it is that comes up. Clearing negative cast timelines to bring more love and light to this world. Love and light. Sometimes we need some anger and righteous indignation too, right? Sometimes we need violence. Sometimes we need war. War says, whether it's in your personal life or at large, war says there's a boundary here you've crossed and I'm not going to tolerate it, and there's consequences for you crossing the boundary. That's war. War of words, war of arms, war of wills. Mars is real active right now, so, you know, we might be at war in our personal lives, but that Three of Swords leads me to believe that this moment is one where we are not waffling and, you know, we are making it clear where we stand, and we're just kind of waiting for the fallout, or we're just waiting for some time to pass to let our revelation, our clarity take root. Let our words simmer a little bit so that people can really know what the rock is cooking. You know what I'm saying? So these cards are really hard to shuffle because they're so big. And then you see this beautiful gold. I don't want to mess that up, so I'll be trying to be real gentle with these cards, but also like mix them up well enough. So let me just see if I can shuffle these. Like I said, I have maybe only done like 3 personal readings with these cards. So I'm still working with them, but I really love to support Black women. Courtney Alexander, I think is her name, that made these. This beautiful artwork and collage. Yeah, Courtney Alexander. You probably can't read that. Dusk-to-Onyx melanated tarot deck. Yeah, so I'm going to do this one time. And I'm going to do the same thing. Cut the deck, card on the bottom. But I'm only going to pick one card, because these images are so hardcore that... Are you going to do a YouTube live for the natal workbook? I am, but I need my life to chill. Like for those of you who don't know, I just quit my part-time job. You know, since I started the People's Oracle back in 2016, I've been working a part-time job while doing readings, which has been really, really, really difficult because I'm also a single mom. So just imagine you working 2 jobs, right? You got a whole kid, and I have published workbooks, and where's my... It's in the other room. I've done 2 editions of the 29 of the sidereal astrology guide. I did an eclipse guide. I did the monthly horoscope workbook, and taking clients and doing readings in person and doing videos and tweeting while parenting and having a part-time job. Please don't ask me how I did it, because I almost lost my mind. So yesterday was my last day working my part-time job. I really just had to stop because it was just some bogus stuff going on. So now, starting next week, starting tomorrow, I'm changing my prices, and, you know, I'm full-time the People's Oracle. So, yeah, I am going to do a video soon now that I have some time that I can reclaim. I'm reclaiming my time. So, yeah, I will. If you don't know what she's talking about, Nasty Nikki is talking about my monthly horoscope workbook. It is a PDF workbook I created that teaches you how to cast your monthly lunar return chart and how to interpret it. So I am going to do a video on that for those who purchased it. Okay, so I just need you to know that Spirit does not play any games, because here is the 2 of Cups. That was the first card with this Golden Thread Tarot. And I cut the deck here. Thank you, A Rainy Day. I cut the deck here. And on the bottom here is the 2 of Gourds, which is complementary. They're, you know, similar. The same card, basically. But obviously the imagery here. Now, I did pull this card in one of the readings that I've done. And the first thing that stuck out to me was this pearl. And, you know, the pearl right here in the center of the head, this is about wisdom. This is about discernment. There is a bit of temperance in this card for me, that there is a measuring and a balancing, mutual investment, coming together and sharing. But again, that word intentional is always so important for me looking at this card. There is communal, there is intentional, there is mutual investment. Takes me back to a reading I did, I believe, for the full moon in New Moon in Taurus, I believe it was, where I was talking about relationships are supposed to be a mutual investment where each adapts to the other. That I cannot come into a relationship and completely conform my being to someone else. I cannot enter a community and completely surrender my individuality and my needs. That my presence in the community needs to change the relational environment. That the tension that I feel, the discomfort with the pressure to conform, needs to be balanced. That they too need to feel the tension and the pressure to conform. They too need to feel that there is more than one person here, whether it's a relationship or a community, and that we are meant to refine each other into our final form. Do you know what I mean? So that's the 2 of Gourds here. I'm just gonna go one card because these cards be so deep. Queen Mother. I believe that that is an emerald up there in her wrap, which is always wealth. Uh, there's a lot of green here. That's wealth. There's a lot of flowers here, which is fertility and abundance. And abundance merely means having more than you need. And when you have more than you need, that's a responsibility. So obviously, Queen Mother is the queen over and mother of something. Okay, I just have to go get, I don't have to go get it because I have it on my phone. I'm just going to read this to you because this is what comes up when I look at this card here, Queen Mother from the Dusk-to-Onyx Tarot. It's 3, the Trump, third Trump, so like the Empress. What is a mother? What is a mother? A mother births. A mother is a host for a parasite. Those who have become mothers the biological way, rather. They're hosts for a parasite. I mean, it's basically what it is. Opened up the wrong folder here. Mother cultivates and nurtures. Mother is responsible for seeing the potential and possibility and creating the environment that brings forth the potential that is within the thing she's nurturing, he's nurturing, they're nurturing. But I want to read this for you from my 2019 Sidereal Astrology Guide. Matter of fact, I'm about to put my last printed ones on sale. That's the cover if you can see it. It's available for download in my store and I have some hard copies left. But I want to read what I wrote for July because with the Queen Mother coming up, I'm just going to read this whole thing because I think it's important. I mean, obviously, I think this is about, our relationship with our mother, but also with our, hello there, but also with our capacity to nurture that which has been given to us, whether it's yourself, whether it's your life, whether it's actual children, your plants, your job, your career, your gift, your talent, whatever it may be. We are all stewards of something and we all have some mother inside of us that I guess is being called to come forth at this moment. But I want to read the monthly summary that I wrote for July. This is what that looks like. You can download this from thepeoplesoracle.com or shop.thepeoplesoracle.com. So I just want to read this to you guys and then I'm going to go. This is the monthly summary for July 2019. That's the month we're in now. Mutable Madness continues while carrying stories from July 2018, January, March, and April of 2019. So let's just pause, digest that. July 2018, January 2019, March 2019, and April 2019. Okay? Convictions without actions are only ideas. And while ideas are powerful, a life lived as a testimony of those ideas is even more powerful. That's the story of the escalating Gemini and Sagittarius eclipses. Words mean things. What you call or name something is embodied with intention and conviction. Yet, taking things at face value is what allows us to communicate and understand each other. Are your experiences and the convictions that grow from them rooted in a biological legacy of tribal designations? So basically, are you just taking what is given to you? Is your belief a consequence of needing identifying a sense of belonging, or are they rooted in core values that define your externally lived truth? That's just kind of deep because we often take for granted that our value systems are the same as our family, but often they're not. And this is a moment where those can really diverge. What just popped in my head about that Queen Mother card is be the author and mother of your own conviction. The second Mercury retrograde of the year begins in Cancer and ends in Gemini. Mercury in Cancer can be tricky. What is said is a subjective biological matter rather than an objective or consensual matter. The urgency of immediate needs shape word choice and how one speaks rather than the desire for clear articulation. So the challenge with this moment with Mercury retrograde in Cancer is that people are speaking from instinct with the intention to express a fundamental need for food, safety, and shelter rather than to consciously articulate and respond to what you said. Okay? By the end of the month, Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars are all in Cancer. So the day of the full moon eclipse in Sagittarius, which is Tuesday, July 16th, the moon enters Capricorn and the sun enters Cancer. So you'll have Sun, Mercury, and Mars all in Cancer, and then Venus in Cancer a little bit later in the week, okay? So by the end of the month, Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars are all in Cancer. This is the first of 4 points in the year where 4 or more planets gather in one sign. Where'd that card go? There it is. That brings an intense focus on the planet in charge of Cancer, which is the moon. So here we go. This is our card from the Dusk-to-Onyx Tarot Queen Mother. Who I love spirit and synchronicity and just how everything comes together. Who are the powerful women in your life? It could be you. Women, femme, trans woman, feminine leaning, non-binary. What does home mean to you? Where is home? What does it mean to belong? These are all things that the Queen Mother is charged with. Where does your relationship with your mother figure stand? Again, Queen Mother. Don't you love this synchronicity? How are you tending to your body's needs? Your body's needs are the fundamental need for food, safety, and shelter. And just like the Two of Gourds here and the Two of Cups, relationships are meant to support or provide food, safety, and shelter. They are not meant to undermine and destroy and prevent and inhibit and block your having a food, safety, and shelter. So I think that's where we leave this, you know. Are your relationships supporting or undermining your ability to meet your basic needs? Are they empowering you to have the resources and opportunity to have shelter, or are they undermining? And for my folks who are under the threat of violence by ICE, who are currently the victims of violence by ICE, you know, it's very clear that for them, the relational environment that they're in is undermining their need for food, safety, and shelter. This is one of those moments where I really don't know what to do but pray, to console and to provide context that this too shall pass, because there's a time and season for all things, but it won't pass unless you're making your life a living testimony of your intentions and convictions. Vote, speak up. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will put this on YouTube for those who came late. And I appreciate y'all continued support. Please go book a reading with me. I'm changing my prices tomorrow because I am now full-time the People's Oracle. I'm scared, y'all. I'm scared. Yeah, so book a reading. Or you can wait till I change my prices. My prices are, yes, a little bit more expensive, but also, yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. Like, some are lower, some are higher, and then I'm just offering a little bit more than I was before. Thank you, Nasty Nikki. Thank you, all of you guys. I really, really, really appreciate it. I'm gonna get on Twitter to talk, and I will see y'all soon. The full moon is on Tuesday, and be looking out for me on Twitter and on here to write more about it. You're welcome, Kelsey. Thank you. Who is this? Oro del Guayaba. Oro del Oro de la Guayaba. I don't know what that means. Pray you get published through this change and it's all worth it. Thank you. There are so many people rooting for me and supporting me, and I'm just forever grateful for the community that I found. Hey, Kendra, I'm so grateful for the community that I found here online and with you guys, and the internet has saved my life repeatedly. So thank you guys. Bye, y'all.